Hello Year 7s, this is lesson 4 in the dissolving and separating booklet. I like this lesson. Where does all the sugar go? If we read this little paragraph down here, if you fill a cup right to the brim full of tea, and you can see it's full of tea there, and then add a teaspoon of sugar, the tea does not overflow. Try it. Why doesn't the volume increase and the tea overflow? Well, to work this one out, we're going to use, in the first instance, some peas and some sand and a 50 milliliter or centimeter cubed measuring cylinder, a 10 milliliter or 10 centimeter cubed measuring cylinder. And then in the second experiment, we're going to have beaker of H2O, that's water, and sugar. So, well, let's get on with what we're going to do. What does it all mean? Well, task 1 is, and you should be able to follow this, number 1, measure out 40 centimeters cubed of peas into the big measuring cylinder. Number 2, measure out 10 centimeters cubed of sand into the smaller measuring cylinder. Then pour the sand into the measuring cylinder with the peas, put your hand over the top and shake gently, and then record the final volume of the pea and sand mixture. Remember, we started off with 40 centimeters cubed of peas and 10 centimeters cubed of sand. So we can start filling in this table. Starting volume of the peas, 40. Don't need to put in the units, they're already there. Starting volume of the sand, 10. What is your predicted volume of the mixture after shaking? What I'd like you to do now is put in your prediction right here. Do you think it's going to be 50? Do you think it's going to be more than 50 centimeters cubed? Do you think it's going to be less than 50 centimeters cubed? You write in your value in here right now. Don't be afraid to get this wrong. Put in your prediction. Let us have a look at this video and see what happens. Look at how the sand particles move in between the spaces left by the pea particles. Interesting. This is the result that we got. 43 centimeters cubed. Question 1. Why did the peas and sand take up less volume than you would expect? The sand grains or particles took up or filled in the spaces created when the peas filled up the large measuring cylinder. Okay, that's what they did. Now what we're going to do is, I always find things easier to understand if we visualize things. We put it down in picture form. So the peas are here. I'm just going to colour them in for a second. I quite like doing this. So the peas are taking up a certain amount of space. However, there are gaps between the peas. You can clearly see that there. And when you add the grains of sand, they fill in the gaps. So the volume after adding the sand grains is always going to be slightly less than your volume of peas plus the starting volume of the sand, because the sand particles are filling in the gaps between the pea particles. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Now, if we move on to exactly the same task, but this time we're not using peas and sugar. This time we're using water, 40 centimetres cubed of it, and 10 centimetres cubed of sugar, and we'll add the sugar into the water, and then we'll gently shake the measuring cylinder, making sure that none of the water or sugar can escape from the top, and then we record the final volume. So, once again, the starting volume of the water, 40. Don't need to write in the units. The units are in the headings. 10 centimetres cubed of sugar. What is your predicted volume? You write in your value here now. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. And let us have a look at the final video. There's the original level for the water. Add in 10 centimetres cubed of sugar. Gently shake it. You'd think it would be 40 plus 10, which is 50 centimetres cubed. It's not going to be. It's going to be less than 50 centimetres cubed. And you should start to understand why that is. There we go, 45 centimetres cubed. Final question today. Can you explain why the volume of the water and sugar mixture was less than the volume of the water and sugar at the start of the experiment? Here's the key words to use. You're going to write this up yourself. I'm going to do this verbally now, and I'm going to highlight when I use the terms that you need to use, but you need to write this down on your own, you know. So let's give this a go. Oh, just before we start, of course, we need to complete our results table. It was indeed 45 centimetres cubed. When sugar is added to water, the sugar particles dissolve. They move into the spaces between the water particles. So the volume drops from a total of 50 centimetres cubed down to 45 centimetres cubed. See you next time.